Well, welcome to another episode of What's Broke Today. Today is our second part of our Cub Cadet. It's a Z-Force S zero-turn rider. That's the model that is zero-turn, but it's got the steering wheel on it. That I got done with the doing the idler pulleys and the belts, and now it's time to do the service on the transaxles. And let me get this set up. And on this one, of course, it has a, well, here, let me show you. It has the expansion tank mounted up here in front of the engine. And most models that have one of those expansion tanks, the transmissions on these are serviceable. That turn over here a little. We got plastic covers here. I pull and there's three 3/8 headed screws that hold each cover on. And then right behind them is our oil filter, which is usually, this area is always full of grass. And alright, we get those pulled off, and I just kind of brush that grass away. That probably should get the air compressor and blow out around there. But so I get both covers out of the way, and I just get a drain pan, and of course I put it on jack stands and took the wheels off first. And I even take this out and drive it around and get the transmissions up to temperature before I even start working. And to drain the fluid is just simply to take off the filter. That when we unscrew the filter, oil comes gushing out. And I get 2 drain pans, and that way I can drain them both at the same time. It's a little tight setting them both in there, but just kind of get it close. And I just use these big channel locks because I don't have an oil filter wrench that fits these little things. Of course, that one had extra dirt up on top, so I don't really want that in my drain pan. So the system altogether holds almost 5 quarts of oil. And these use Mobil 15W50 in these. That's full synthetic oil. And usually try and change these about every 500 hours of use. Sometimes a little sooner if they do a lot of, I'll say rough terrain driving. That this one mows a fairly nice lawn, so it doesn't get that hard to use. There's more dirt. And I pull the filters off and let them drain good. And I'm probably going to let this set for probably close to an hour, just so it gets done, because it's going to sit there and run like that for quite a while. And I'll probably put my floor jack underneath the front because when I got it jacked up, it's kind of downhill, so there's probably still some more oil up here toward the front. There's one. And the transmissions in this are the ZT 2800s made by Hydro Gear. There's a whole bunch of these that are serviceable that have these filters. So you almost have to lay down and look underneath yours and see if it's got these plastic covers held on by the 3 screws, and then also look somewhere under the seat or around the motor and see if you've got the expansion tanks. That depending on the manufacturer of the mower, you could have 1 or 2 tanks, because sometimes, like this one, it has 2 hoses coming off 1 tank, and they go into the top of the transmissions. If you can see kind of up in there where that hose clamp is, but it's right up here. And then has 1 to each transmission, and it basically it's expansion. It doesn't when the system's full and it's cold, there's not hardly any oil in that tank. That the full mark, I mean, it's, I don't know, it might have 3/8 to ½ an inch of fluid depth when it's cold, and then as these heat up, the oil expands up into the tank. And like, right here, that coming out looks real clean, but when you look down in that tank, it kind of has a gray graphite-y looking tint to it. So that's why we want to change it and get fresh oil in, because over time, even though it's synthetic, with the heat cycles and the use, the oil will break down. So it's really no different than changing the oil in your car. You want to do the maintenance on it, and that'll help these Hydro Gear transaxles last as long as possible. And then I'm just going to set this drain, and here, let me get my floor jack and let's see how much more oil, because I'll go front and center. I got up there where it's almost level, and you can see when I raised it up, we're getting more oil out, because these don't have a drain plug. So the only 2 ways to drain it is take the filters off or separate the cases, which we don't want to do that unless we have to. So yeah, I'm gonna let this set and drain, and when I get back to finish, I'll get the camera rolling again. All right, well, we're back. We're down to nothing on that. Well, I guess there's still a little drip over there, and a little drip on this side. And Curtis is washing my ear. I got my new filters for both sides. Gonna open them up, and and it comes with, this filter fits quite a few different Hydro Gears, and of course comes with some documentation that doesn't really apply to the one I'm working on, but you should, if it comes with anything like this in it, you should read it. That's talking about the different types of fittings that go on top of the transmissions, and I don't have any of this, but this could apply to our ZT 2800s, 31s, 32s, 34s, and 3600s and 3800s. So quite a few different models. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my finger in my oil and just put a thin film on my filter. And I'm going to take a rag and actually wipe off the surface where the filter is going to screw on. But really not no different than if you're changing the oil in your car. You'd always want to clean that mating surface off, and take our new filter and screw it on, and make sure you don't get it cross-threaded, because that where it screws onto, I mean, Oh, it doesn't start real easy. We screw that up on there, and then, you know, it says oil, gasket, and tighten 3/4 of 1 turn after gasket contact, so I'll get my pliers and turn that one a little more. The pliers are laying on the other side. And of course, the old oil, you could use new oil to oil the gasket, or I just always use the old, because a lot of times it's not that dirty. And then of course wipe off. Because if there gets any dirt in between the new gasket and the transmission, more than likely it's going to leak. So I don't want to take a chance. There's that. Okay. Of course, I want to get those tightened good, but you don't want to, you know, over tighten, and also don't want to use your, you know, these are pretty good sized pliers. We don't want to put a bunch of dents in our new filters. So I just kind of grab it where the splats are at and gently squeeze and then turn. Okay. All right, once we get to that point, we are ready to start filling. And we get up under here. I don't know if you can really see that well, but up here, I'm going to put my Allen wrench in it. There are vent plugs up there that we have to remove. Yeah, kind of hard to see. Let's do this. You can kind of see where my Allen wrench is at. There's one on each side, and this is a 1/4 inch Allen wrench, and these plugs are O-ring sealed and are usually, well, and these were super tight. I pre-loosen them, and I actually do that while it's cold. Before I even, you know, I take it to drive it, I'll actually lay down here and with my Allen wrench, and then I use a 3/8 extension with a 3/8 inch deep socket. I stick the Allen wrench in it and use it as a, you know, little cheater bar, because these are usually super tight, that when we get to the newer hydro gear units, they actually switched over, and we've got it's got actually it looks like a nut, so you can put a socket on it, and much easier to remove. Of course, I'm doing this other side kind of blind. And I got a customer pulling in, so I'll pull this screw out, and then I will be back. Alright, I'm back. Now, those plugs I took out are kind of like a vent plug. And what it is when I start filling up that reservoir up top, that's how it's going to release the air. I'm actually going to, excuse me, I'm going to fill the reservoir up and then just sit and wait. And then as soon as oil starts coming out of that vent hole, I'm going to have already wiped off my plugs, both of them, and have them ready, because I cleaned it. Luckily it wasn't too dirty, but around these plugs I cleaned with a little brush before I pulled, I loosened them up. So I'm gonna start pouring oil, and I'll probably edit out some of this. I'm gonna leave the camera running, but I'm gonna see if I can catch it in the picture when the oil actually starts coming out. I'm gonna move the camera around, and I think I'm gonna see if I can get a better angle. Yeah, because here's our hole. I'm actually just gonna set it up and videotape, and that's the right-hand transmission. And then I got the oil pan that's wide enough that whichever one drips first, it should catch it regardless. And then I'll just edit out a lot of time pouring oil and watching it drain. And of course, when I start pouring, I buy the 5-quart jug. So I pretty much know that I'm going to be up around 4 quarts before one of them starts overflowing. So at about 3.5 quarts, I'm going to get back down here and start looking. That reservoir tank, it don't even hold a full quart, so it'll take a little bit for it to drain down, and then I'll just keep adding till I get up to about 3.5, and then I'll get back down here and start watching, because at about 3.5 I can lay down here and watch, and as soon as I see oil I can put one or both plugs, get them started. And while I'm waiting here for the oil to drain, I'm going to go ahead and put these plastic covers back on. That they just mainly protect the filters, so if you run over something, you don't bend them or damage them, even though I'm sure even with the covers you still could. But probably the worst thing you got to worry about here is when you take these bolts out, I'm being corroded into the transmission case and them breaking off. I've never had more than one break, but so if I have one break, I end up putting it back on with 2. Of course, I always knock all the dirt out of the cover before I put it back up there, because it's a natural dirt collector. And my next trip up after I put these covers on, that'll be when I'm going to add more oil, and then that's when I'm going to get down here and actually watch for it to run out one of those vent holes. And I don't tighten those very tight either. I snug them up, and they don't have to be very tight at all. So, but yeah, I was at 3.5, so I bet I'm ready to add more. And now, when I fill up now, I'm actually not going to fill the reservoir. I'm just going to add a little, and then just wait, because I don't want to overfill and then have to pull some out. So, and there I got oil on the left, so I'll start that plug, and it could come out either one first side. So let's look at our tank. Oh, there we go. Add a little more, now it's a rolling. So We'll get it started, and of course, you get oil all over your fingers. Yep. Now I'll just take my Allen wrench and screw these in. I'm just going to snug them up because I don't want them too tight, because I don't know if it's the O-ring or the temperature changes as it runs. But I just know it's such a pain to get them out next time you change them. And they're tight enough, I don't think they're just going to come loose. So I don't do no adders to add more. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to wipe it for now, but after I move the camera, I'll spray those down with some brake clean. And then when we look at our tank here, you'll see this little line toward the bottom right here. That's actually our full mark when it's cold. So I'm going to fill it up to that mark. And then I'll actually start it up, go drive it, warm it up good, and then come back, and after it cools off, I'll recheck and make sure we're at the proper level. That it's a little hard to see, but I think I'm pretty close to that line right now. So yeah, and that's about all there is to it. I'll check back in shortly. Well, got the Cub Cadet all done. That I got the transmissions serviced, new filters, new oil. Of course, in this oil tank, you don't fill it up. It's got a line that's really low on the tank, so it's our full mark when it's cold. And now after I put those plugs back in that vented out the side of the transmission, I actually took this and drove it, warmed it up, and then come back and checked it, and those plugs aren't clear at the very top. So after I drove a little bit, I'd overfilled this a little bit, but it'll the air that's left over will work its way up the hoses and into the tank. So I did have to add oil to the tank 2 more times. And the other thing I also do is, before I even take it actually out for a drive, I put it up on jack stands. We've got our bypass levers on both sides. I always pull those out, start it up, and I'll go ahead and release the parking brake, and wheels are off the ground, and I just go forward, count to about 5 seconds, let off, push the reverse pedal, go to about 5 seconds and let off. And I do that 3 times just to try, and if there's any air I need to purge, it also will clean out the valves. Because basically when you pull these out, you're opening it's like a rod going down in there as a flat spot, and when you turn it, that flat spot moves and it pushes a ball bearing back that's on a spring that releases the fluid pressure that allows this unit to roll. And that, most of your residential or consumer grade stuff that's got a hydrostat usually has a rod like that, which can be in the back here like this is. Sometimes they're in front, underneath by the deck. If it's a regular riding tractor where it has just a single transaxle, it'll have usually a single one in the back, or I've even seen them up under the seat. But anything's a hydrostat, if I ever have a trouble with them, the first thing I always do is purge them, just to make sure that there isn't something in that check valve, and to make sure, try and get all the air out. And then after I get done with my purge, I put both rods back in the drive position, which, most units are going to have the sticker like this one that'll show you that, when it's in, you're in the drive mode. And then when you pull it out and you hook this little ear on the outside, you can push it. So, and all that turned out good. I looked underneath. Of course, I didn't see any leaks. So that was good. Now, while it was here, I did go ahead and, of course, I'd done the idler pulleys in the last video. I also sharpened the blades and checked the air in the tires, and everything works good like we was wanting it to. But, and that will conclude this video, and turn around so we don't get rid of the glare. That I appreciate you watching. I hope you found the video to be helpful. That if you did, give me a thumbs up for a like. Feel free to leave comments, because I hadn't ever mentioned that before, because I had someone comment on one of my other videos and ask a question. You ask a question, I may not get back to you immediately because I get busy around here and I work on the videos. I do the taping quite frequently, but I don't actually work on the videos or mess with YouTube daily, so it may be 2 or 3, 4 days before I actually go into YouTube and see I got a comment or a question. So I appreciate you watching. Please give me the thumbs up for the like, and subscribe to my channel, because no telling what you may see next. Have a good day.